I think that's where you'll see this stock start to take off. And I don't think, I think it's an easy run from $200 to $400. What I'm talking about is how does the market, wake up to $400, $2,000?
I hope you're ready, because the way it seems, a run up from 200 to 400 bucks per share for Tesla stock is going to be a very easy run, just as you guys heard. Sheesh! I'm pumped, you're pumped. I hope you're ready. In today's video, we're gonna break down this video. Shout out to Herbert for getting this guy on his podcast, on X and on YouTube. And if you guys wanna watch the full thing, I have it linked in the cards in the corner, which I highly do recommend you guys go and watch the full thing, because this thing was an awesome podcast with this senior manager portfolio who's Canadian. Right? He's Canadian, and he spilled some juicy stuff. I would even go as further as saying bombshells, but not quite there yet, because we do talk about the stuff that he says here in this channel as well. So it's a very sheesh moment. I'm going to break down the most important part of the entire podcast, in my opinion, because we all are here for the long-term Tesla investors. I think these are very important to know, and for us to be more confident with our investment in Tesla. So smash that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and let's begin.
I'm a portfolio manager up in Montreal, one of the largest in Canada. Owned Tesla stock for clients since 2016, in and out. Personally, I've owned it, never sold. What I wanted to do was share some perspective, because I know you guys talk about the business in itself, the importance of it, and what they're doing. But also from a stock perspective, I think I have a pretty good understanding of the market dynamics. And I can tell you what my opinion is of what's driving the stock currently and what could drive it higher. And when we look at NVIDIA, would be an excellent case. 2 years ago, we had calls from clients complaining they didn't want to own the company. The stock went down to close to $100, $150 in 2022. And the reason it did was just and even personally, I was concerned about the company, because their technology is far greater and above than what I can actually comprehend and understand. We just knew that they were a leader in chips, and we knew that there was a chip war going on. We continue to own it despite the fact that we had a lot of client complaints, and since then everyone knows what's happened with NVIDIA. But the only time NVIDIA started to turn is when there was rumors, or when Wall Street could actually get an understanding of what their earnings are. The stock moved not because of the potential. And the reason I think this is important is because as a Tesla investor, we're all watching the capabilities. I've had FSD for a number of years. I'm testing it. It is friggin' awesome. I know that this thing is next level. I have no doubt. But until Wall Street and analysts can put this into their numbers, I don't believe that we'll get a significant move to new all-time highs. Sure, 200, 250, maybe it'll trade back to, but you need to start putting in the numbers. And if you look at any stock that is significantly run, that's not a meme stock, you're going to see that people start understanding the numbers. Even NVIDIA today, you look at it, forward PE multiples, everybody's trying to make sense of it. It has not gone up in terms of valuation, but there's earnings behind it. Maybe the stock can run a little bit sooner, but in terms of Tesla running because they're doing awesome things with AI, we have to start. So just putting it out there, where are we going to see Tesla start delivering it in terms of numbers?
So he uses the example of NVIDIA stock and how it ran up, and I love the fact that he did, because there's a lot of Tesla bulls out there, a lot of Tesla investors out there that go like, wait a minute, NVIDIA is having a Tesla moment. When is Tesla going to have a NVIDIA moment? Without knowing why the run-up was there and why the run-up is being sustained, and why it's probably going to, NVIDIA stock is probably going to continue to go higher and eventually do a stock split, which I made the video over here about. Eventually they're going to do a stock split very soon. I'm giving it another month or so. I think NVIDIA is going to do a 5-for-1 stock split, or 4-for-1 at like the least. But to understand why NVIDIA stock went up the way it did, and it's maintaining even with high interest rates, is because Wall Street understands and they know what the earnings are. They know what to go forward with. Unlike Tesla at the moment, when it ran up in 2020 and 2021, well, what did they do? They reduced prices, interest rates went up. Now things became uncertain. At the moment, for at least another 2, 3, maybe 4 years, for NVIDIA, it looks like this thing is unstoppable. and it looks like they're going to continue going higher until it's time to come back to reality, when other like AMD and Intel's, although other guys enter the field as well, because they are behind. Nvidia is just steam rolling through, and they don't seem to be stopping. Another thing that he mentioned is that Nvidia stock went up not because of the potential. Right now, all Tesla investors are looking at FSD and seeing how thing is progressing, and it's saying this thing has a huge potential. But Wall Street is going like, yeah, cool, has potential, it's amazing. He even said himself, it's amazing, but where's the numbers? We want to see the numbers. We want to see this thing. Yeah, okay, great. You have 6 million vehicles on the road with a snap of a finger. You guys can turn on FSD, but we want to see that first. Once this happens, we can add it to our evaluation. We can add it to our spreadsheets and numbers, and then we can value the stock properly to that. Right now, Wall Street is going like, nope, I don't want to see anything. Right now, what's making money? Autos, that's it. This is a car company. Maybe of the supercharger will add in. Maybe a little bit of the, FSD uptakes, that one they'll add that in as well. But until there's actual numbers of the full self-driving, I will not completely add it in. And for now, this is what it is, which completely makes sense, and which I love because I get to buy more Tesla stock on the cheap. And he does go and say if the stock is expensive or not in just a bit as well. But in other words, for Nvidia, the earnings are justified. The reason why the stock has gone up the way it has is because the earnings has justified the EPS. And now Wall Street can predict in the future for the next 2 to 3 years how to value Nvidia in terms of earnings. Nvidia, guys, when you look at the PE and price to earnings and all that kind of stuff, it's actually not that bad compared to all the run-up that has gone up. It's actually not that bad. It's not even overvalued in my opinion, which is incredible. The thing has 10x almost, and it's still not undervalued until the other competition comes in for Nvidia. But anyways, that's what he meant with the Nvidia example, which was a sheesh moment. Then Herbert goes and asks him about the bot. How will this impact the earnings if it comes out? How can the bot, impact the stock price? And this is what he had to say. And take a note, because he said some pretty interesting things here that's going to help us Tesla investors.
Once they actually start selling some bots, first they'll sell that to themselves. And once they can prove that they can ramp up, so they get to 10,000 bots, 15,000, 100,000, and they show margins on these, that's when the street will wake up. But I think what the street has to start understanding is, what do we give a multiple for this projected growth rate and into infinity, not 1 year, not 2 years. So why does Microsoft get a 30 times multiple for a company that grows at maybe 10 times, 10% earnings per share, maybe 15? Same thing with Visa. Okay, because we see it almost in perpetuity. We can't see the end of that slowdown. Yet why does Nvidia, who's growing at 60, 100% per year right now, get the same multiple? Because we can't understand, or we can't quite grasp how much growth is beyond 2-3 years out. And I think if Tesla can start proving that there's consistent 40, 50% growth, if they can prove that, they'll get a 40, 50%, 50 times multiple on their actual earnings.
So it kind of sounds like a broken record. He's saying that, again, this has to be ramped up and the margins need to be shown in order for Wall Street to add it to their valuation. It's the same thing with FSD, with the bots. Now, with the bots, personally, I don't really care about the bots. I care more about the FSD, robotaxi, full self-driving. That's the reason why I'm going all in Tesla stock, not because of the bots or even of the energy. It's just the full self-driving. It's just the numbers are just crazy when that thing is scaled. But the important things that I wanted you guys to just take a note is the fact that he said Wall Street is looking for those companies to give the same PE, because Nvidia and Microsoft have the same PE. Like, they're very close. And the reason why Microsoft is only growing 10% every single year. Nvidia is growing over 60%, 70%, 80% year over year. Why is it that the PE isn't higher for Nvidia? Why isn't that valued more? Well, that's because for Microsoft, for example, for Apple, for example, for Google, for example, and all these other tech companies that can actually have reoccurring revenues, they call this infinite. Or in other words, it's in perpetuity. So it's pretty much like forever, like there's no end in sight, and that's why they give it a high PE of like 30. Nvidia at the moment, and even Tesla, they don't have this reoccurring infinite, as far as I can see, that's going to continue until, who knows when it'll stop. They don't have this business yet. For NVIDIA, I don't know what the service is going to be. It's probably going to be the data centers, but they still need to see more numbers for that. For Tesla, it's 100% going to be the full self-driving and the robo-taxis, but that's still not into fruition yet. However, though, what do you think is going to happen once Tesla has this reoccurring revenue and there's no end of slowing down? It's just straight 5-6 years of just growth. I'm just saying get ready, man. Not financial advice. I'm just saying get ready. That's all. But that was a very interesting note to note as Tesla investors. Reoccurring revenue and profits matter, and Tesla is going to do this with their full self-driving, robo-taxi, and potentially even licensing.
Right now, the stock is actually expensive, but I think the market's going, hey, wait a minute, there's some stuff here. There's some built up earnings potential because as an automotive stock, it's way too expensive. So it's not completely discounted.
I 100% agree here. If Tesla was only an automotive company, the valuation is just ridiculous. And first things first, if Tesla was only an automotive company, I would not be going all I would probably not even be even heavily invested. Maybe maximum I'll probably have 5%, 10% in it. I would not be going all into Tesla stock if it was just an automotive company. But guess what? They ain't. Then Herbert asked one of my favorite questions is, how would this impact Wall Street once robotaxi starts to, get into fruition, get into the game, starts charging, starts expanding into cities and going to countries? And he had a pretty interesting response.
I think, in the U.S., my view is it's going to be very similar to Waymo and Cruise, that it's like a token thing in a few cities. But I think once you get an automaker, I think it's going to happen in China first, and I think it's going to happen really fast. Once you have one company, it may even be BYD that signs on. And when the market starts seeing that this licensing is recurring revenue, I think that's where you'll see this stock that start to take off. And I think it's an easy run from $200 to $400. What I'm talking about is, how does the market, wake up to $400, $2,000? You got to start proving that. Before we have the NVIDIA moment, we need to have proof of actual earnings. And the speculation of what are these earnings going to be, or when we prove robo-taxi starting to work, that'll put the stock to $200, $300, possibly $400 if you get a meme rally. But I still think you have to be patient and wait for those earnings to come. We need to start seeing it, and it could be just 1 quarter, 2 quarters, that they just all of a sudden nail it, sign a couple agreements, and people start putting it into their models.
The senior portfolio manager, by the way, his name is Simon. So Simon believes that it's going to happen in China first, and the way how it seems like it looks like it is going to happen in China first, because in China things move there really fast, especially for China. Now for Wall Street, how is this going to impact the stock price? They want to see their reoccurring revenue. If they can see that, oh wait a minute, Q1, Q2, Q3 of whatever year, let's say 2025, 2026, oh, what's this? Robotaxi revenue. Okay, it's profits. Okay, I see profits. Next quarter, oh wow, that's jumping. And then in the earnings call, they're going to say, we're going to keep growing like 20, 30, 40, 50% year over year or quarter over quarter until this, until for the next 2 or 3 years in China. Then we're going to start in Europe. Then we're going to start in, North America. This is going to get the stock. This will roar the stock price. Then Wall Street has no excuse to add this into valuation, and this brings the valuation higher for Tesla. Hence why he means that the stock could go from 200 to 400 real quick. And I 100% agree with that. I can easily see Tesla going back to all-time highs once they can prove the robotaxi recurring revenue. Or even the full self-driving that goes to other millions of vehicles, or the take rate comes in to see if it's higher than usual. The catalyst that can take Tesla from 200 to 400, it's so light, in my opinion. I think it's going to happen sooner than we all think, in my opinion. But it's interesting that Simon does believe this as well, and he is a fund manager as well. So that's really cool. And of course, he also mentioned that proof of actual earnings like NVIDIA, stock will start to rally. So that's pretty juicy, and these are the things that we do talk about here on this channel as well, that we need to have the reason for the stock to be around worth 400, 500, 600, or anything above that, or even in that range. Wall Street needs to justify with earnings. It just can't run up because it just needs to run up. It just doesn't work like that. And especially when everyone is focused on the auto margins, which is just silly. It's absolutely silly. But this was a sheesh moment. Shout out to Herbert. Really love that guy. And I will have him coming on this channel sometime soon. Sheesh! Exciting times. Now here's the thing, guys. I've never been this bullish on Tesla ever before. Check out this video. You guys will see the reasons why, how bullish I am. And y'all won't be disappointed. Guys, get your sheesh shirt or I bought a deep t-shirt or become a channel member if y'all want to support me and subscribe. And I shall see you guys in the next video. See ya.